We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Sunday, November 23rd. Different setup today. We're going to have the setup for today and for Tuesday. Going to be back in the normal setup tomorrow. We'll get to that again with tomorrow's videos. But again, we've got our 5 best bets today for college basketball. Yesterday, a 4-1 day. Could have been a 5-0 day. We were right there late night with Weber State, losing a game by 1 point to UT Arlington, but a really good day. High Point did not cover by a point, so we lucked out in that one with Incarnate Word. We covered by, again, a half a point with the Cardinals, and just an all-around really good day. We start off the day hot with a huge victory at Lemoyne for Fairfield, and again, a 4-1 day on the channel, looking for more of that same success today. As maybe we should say we've caught fire. I don't know. I'm just saying, we're doing pretty well right now. Folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. If I remember, I always say this when I do videos outside my normal setup, I will timestamp each bet in the description down below, so obviously with no graphic on the screen, you can, look ahead to whatever bet that you want to see and the reasoning for them. Again, no guarantees though. I hope I remember to do that. Anyways, folks, later today, college or NBA best bets, they'll be dropping in 2 hours. NFL Sunday, obviously, today, so we've got NFL best bets, we've got NFL best player props, and full predictions for this huge NFL slate today with Shedeur Sanders obviously playing today for the Las Vegas Raiders, who we are hoping for you, Shedeur. We are really, anyways, I am at least. Okay, on the first of our 5 best bets today for college basketball, kicking things off with the earliest game of the day. Again, I don't really recognize Feast Week until starting tomorrow, personally, just because then we get games all day long, and really today, I will be watching college basketball because I watch college basketball every day, but the NFL is on at the same time, right? So it's not, today is not a fully dedicated college basketball slate. Regardless, though, here's a big matchup, and we have a couple today that we're going to go over between a couple, Power 5 schools. But the first one being the Clemson Tigers taking on the Georgia Bulldogs over at the TD Arena in Charleston, South Carolina. So much stuff going on in Charleston. This is not the same tournament, obviously, that's been happening that has Utah State and Davidson playing later tonight, but it's a separate one. If I can get this right, this is the Shriners Children's Classic Palmetto bracket. I forget what the other bracket was called, but yeah, I guess this is just a different version of the Shriners Charleston Classic. Regardless, though, Clemson Tigers take on the Georgia Bulldogs in this one. Georgia, a 6-0 team this season. Clemson, 5-1. I'm going with Clemson to win this basketball game at -135. Hopefully the line doesn't jump. I'm recording this video fairly late. I'm recording it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, there we go. 2 o'clock. So hopefully the lines don't adjust too much by the time this video is up. I am taking Clemson, though, to get it done. I believe the Tigers can win this one outright. Clemson is a 5-1 team this season. We've only talked about them briefly in their one game that we had on the channel when they played Georgetown over in DC, and we did accurately take the Hoyas to win that basketball game. Again, Georgetown basketball, I think it's back. I think the Hoyas are back for real. Let me put that out there. Anyways, though, that's Clemson's only lost this season, and albeit, they haven't really played the toughest schedule other than their last game beating West Virginia. WVU, weird team, West Virginia looked really good in the Pittsburgh game. They have their nights. Obviously, a whole new, constructed lineup out there with DeVries, both DeVries leaving, obviously, the coach and Tucker to Indiana. But big win for Clemson. They win the game by 3 points. If I'm not mistaken, that was in Charleston as well. I'm fairly certain it was. Yes, that was the Shriners Classic. So that's how Clemson gets into the spot. Georgia's coming off a victory over Xavier. Highly competitive game for the Bulldogs as they almost gave up a huge lead in the first half. They put 50 plus on the Musketeers in the first half and only scored 25 in the second, but still find a way to win that basketball game. Big three-pointer at the end of the game by Marcus Millender, ended up winning it for the Bulldogs again just by 1 point. I do believe Clemson's better than Georgia, though. I really believe that. I would also, again, I value Clemson's win over West Virginia more than I do Georgia's victory over Xavier. And look at Georgia's other wins. You get by Georgia Tech by 5 points. That's great. You beat Bellarmine. You beat Maryland Eastern Shore 94-29. That's one of the scores of all time. And then Florida A&M 87-57. But really, the better competition, I would say, is Clemson with their 2 tough games with, Georgetown and West Virginia. And, I know they didn't win the Georgetown victory, but just watching Clemson play, they do feel like the better squad. And we've been over this Tigers team a little bit this season, right? It is a different team that's being built this season, obviously, right? Losing in the transfer portal, losing to graduation. But the Tigers were really successful last year. Again, for the most part, it is a completely new starting lineup. Dylan Hunter obviously returns from last season. It's his senior year. But other than that, you're bringing in a bunch of players, obviously, from various colleges. Nick Davidson at center from Nevada. They've also got Ephraim Johnson is transferring in from UAB. I mean, there's a lot of players, obviously, from different schools. And obviously, again, that's just how college basketball works. We're used to it at this point. But I do like Clemson more in this spot. Again, the win over West Virginia was good. WVU's up early, but it's a huge second half from the Clemson Tigers that ultimately wins them that basketball game. Again, Godfrey with 14 points in that one. Dylan Hunter with 13. Davidson only played 16 minutes in that game. Carter Welling had a big day. Welling, is a transfer. I believe he's in his junior season, Carter Welling from Utah Valley. I like Clemson quite a bit in this spot. For the Georgia Bulldogs, you know, a team that's just one of these middling SEC squads. They were all right last season, don't get me wrong, but their biggest star, obviously, last season, Asa Newell leaves. Newell, now obviously in the NBA, he was a one and done, obviously, in college. I don't know, I mean, hey, RJ Godfrey, right, leaves that team as a junior. RJ Godfrey now obviously starting at the 3 spot for Clemson. That's, you know, something to note, obviously, for this game. But I just don't love what what Georgia got back. I mean, you got Jeremiah Wilkinson in from Cal. You got Catchings over from BYU, who he saw, you know, the PT's going to go down, obviously, with DeBonsta coming in. And, I mean, Georgia retained a lot of their bigs, but I like Clemson in this spot. I think the Tigers are the all-around better basketball team. Neutral site game as well, really, for us, gets, you know, we can just focus in on who is the better team. I do believe it is the Tigers in this one, and I'm going to go with Clemson here to win it. Minus 135 on the money line feels good enough for me. Give me the Tigers here in Charleston at the Shriners Children's Classic. On to our second best bet of the video. We move now to a matchup between Old Dominion and Drexel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am taking Old Dominion on the spread. We are getting 3.5 points with ODU on the road. Sign me up. Old Dominion and Drexel, I mean, 2 middling teams so far this season. Old Dominion 3-3 with victories over Randolph, Norfolk State, and against Morgan State. For Drexel, this is a 2-4 team coming out of that CAA conference that we like so much. But the victories are over Widener, never heard of ya, and NJIT, obviously the New Jersey Institute of Technology. So, I mean, not the best wins, we can say, obviously, over for the Drexel Dragons. Sure, they've looked good in the games that they've won, but at the same time, who have you beaten? Absolute no ones. Drexel's losses, a 30-point loss against Syracuse. Okay, I don't think Cuse is going to be that great this season. I know they've been playing some, you know, teams pretty tight this year, but I mean, you lose that game by 30 points to Syracuse. I don't love that. You play Colgate on the road, lose by 7 points. You go to St. Joseph's, obviously, and the Hawks with their mascot who just flaps his wings the entire game in the corner of the screen. He never stops. Regardless, though, Drexel goes on the road to St. Joseph's and loses that game by double digits. Really, to me, I think Old Dominion is the better basketball team. I think they have a lot more going for them. Picked up one over the Norfolk State Spartans, and you know, again, we like Norfolk State quite a bit. We liked him last year with Brian Moore. We like him even. I don't know if we like them more this season. But Norfolk obviously hit for us the other day. They are playing today, but I don't want to risk it again on the Spartans right now, guys. I mean, that last game, ooh, brutal. You know, my heart was pounding watching that game. That last Norfolk State game was brutal. Actually, there was no stream for that game, so I was following it on my phone on ESPN because we had no other option. Regardless, though, I look at Old Dominion. Victories over Norfolk State this year, a win over Morgan State. Losses are to Miami of Ohio on the road. I mean, that can be a difficult game. Really not too concerned there. Losing at George Washington over in D.C. and then losing at Xavier, albeit by 30 points. I do think Old Dominion's got more going for them here, and the fact that they're getting points, I think, is a huge plus. Because here's the thing, right? When I view teams like Old Dominion and Drexel, I believe Old Dominion on paper is the better basketball team. But obviously, when you're picking games and you're looking at spreads, you have to take into account, okay, where the game's actually being played. Drexel, obviously the game being at Drexel, it is in Pennsylvania. ODU's got to go there. I understand. Again, so that's why we have to kind of balance out, okay, that's why Old Dominion are dogs, but still, on a neutral site, I do believe I would still take Old Dominion. If you were like pressing me on a money line play here, I probably still would go with the Monarchs, and just the fact that we get 3.5 points, and we're going to see the same exact scenario later in the video, and I'll talk about that. Or actually, no, that's for our NBA best bets. So come back later today in a couple hours for our NBA best bets. I will bring up a very similar example just to this game. It's the final best bet that we're going to have today on the NBA video. But I still think if we are being given points for ODU, why wouldn't I take it here? The Monarchs are led by Casey Shaw and LJ Thomas, both of which are averaging 14 points per game. Casey Shaw, a senior guard for the squad, second year of playing Division I basketball. I believe he was a JUCO transfer, if I'm not mistaken. Started every single game last year for Eastern Maryland Shore. Dropped 18 points per game. Obviously, Maryland Shore plays in the MEAC. Not a great conference, obviously, except for the Norfolk State Spartans. Casey Shaw, though, now coming on over to Old Dominion. He's been playing pretty good basketball so far. And how about LJ Thomas, their starting point guard? LJ Thomas, so far, averaging 14 points per game. He started at North Carolina State and then went to Austin Peay. Averaging the same amount of points on Dominion that he did at Austin Peay last season. Gotta like that again for ODU. They've got guys who can score, albeit these are guards, and I would say LJ Thomas is a little bit undersized. They don't really play, this is college basketball, obviously, but they don't really have a center. The guy who operates as their 5 on the court would be Callum Swanton-Roger, who is, I guess he is 7 feet tall. Didn't look 7 feet tall when I was watching Old Dominion stuff. Regardless, though, he's going to be the biggest player on the court. Doesn't see that much run, though. They'll play him, from what I saw, they're going to play him like 18-ish minutes a game, but he is their biggest player on the court. Obviously, they'll just rotate, other big forwards to play that kind of center-ish role when he's not playing. Roger, from what I've got, not the best defensively. He's just a big body. Senior forward/center who was at Maryland and transferred to ODU. He is starting at ODU, but doesn't always play the entire game, obviously. Gets into foul trouble, not great defensively down low at times. That's what I've seen out of him. In terms of their opponents in the Drexel Dragons, again, you know how much I like the CAA. Top of the CAA is ridiculous. UNC Wilmington's been so good to us, and they're going to continue to be very good to us all year long. They're a team that can actually win on the road, unlike the High Point Panthers. No, but we got our get back yesterday on High Point. Don't you worry about that. Shout out again to Incarnate Word by covering by 1 point. I got scared early in the second half, but they did it. Incarnate Word, man. Shout out to Cameron Ward and the Incarnate Word Cardinals. But the Drexel Dragons, led by Shane Blakeney, he's their leading scorer with 12 a night. Eli Beard averages 11, and Kevon Vanderhorst will average 10 as well. But really, when you look at who Drexel's played, they've beat up on, again, Widener. You beat up on NJIT. And their last game that I didn't even mention, they lost at at home to UPenn, the Quakers, out of the Ivy League. Pennsylvania beat them 84-68. I'm sorry, you just can't have that. You just can't. Blakeney, again, is their best scorer. He is their best player. Averages 13 points per game. Blakeney's a guy who's in his junior season, played all 3 years at Drexel. This is his first year starting for the Dragons. But really, the thing that really puts me away from Drexel is that last game at home playing UPenn. And you don't just lose the game. If it's a competitive game, whatever. You let UPenn come into town and blow you out. I'm sorry, I can't take that in this spot. And again, like I mentioned earlier in the prediction, or earlier in the best bet, on a neutral site, money line, if I had to pick, I would take ODU. If the game was at ODU, I'd take ODU. The games at Drexel, I would still take ODU, but now we're just given points? Okay. I believe Old Dominion is the better team. I think they're a better defensive squad, and I do believe Casey Shaw and LJ Thomas are better than the 3 main scorers that the Drexel Dragons have. I'm going to go with the Old Dominion Monarchs to get this one done on the road. And we don't even need them to win, though. We don't need them to win. Plus 3.5 here for Old Dominion on the road, again, to cover against the Drexel Dragons. On now to our third best bet of the video. We move to a matchup here between the Montana Grizzlies at home, and let me make sure I get the right city. It's Missoula, right? Montana State's in Bozeman? Yes. Missoula, Montana for the Montana Grizzlies at home against Lamar. I'm taking Montana minus 6.5. We took Montana earlier in the season when they played over in Las Vegas against UNLV, and they covered for us there, and didn't just cover, by the way. Shout out to Money Williams and the guys. They went to UNLV and won the game outright, guys. This is a really good Montana Grizzlies team, and Money Williams is just known, obviously, right? I've been watching quite a bit of Big Sky basketball recently. Obviously, we took Weber State twice, right? We've taken Sacramento State. We've watched Eastern Washington this season. We've watched Montana State this year. We've watched Portland State, right? I've watched quite a bit of Big Sky ball to the point where I've watched pretty much every single team now in the conference. Every single commentating duo, every single commentary team, especially obviously like the local ones that are broadcasted on ESPN Plus. Obviously all these teams in the Big Sky, they all mention Money Williams. And obviously, again, going into the season, I said Money Williams is the best player in the Big Sky. We saw it last season. He was great in the Big Sky. He's going to be very good again this season, obviously. He's already averaging 21 points per game. It's absurd. But I think it's just there's all-around recognition now about how good he is. And obviously, Money Williams was one of the guys who led, obviously, Montana to the Big Sky Championship last year. They fell short in their first-round tournament game against the Wisconsin Badgers. But it wasn't just Money Williams last year. There was an all-around core. And Williams was one of the guys. But it's not like Money Williams every single night was dropping 20-plus points. That's what he's doing this season. The all-around team got a little worse. But Money Williams is now a better scorer than, no disrespect to any of the guys who were on the team last season, but Money Williams right now is a better scorer than anybody who was on the Montana Grizzlies last year. I mean, you know, again, every single broadcast in the Big Sky, whether it be Montana State, whether it be, I was watching Long Beach State talk. It was Long Beach State commentators talking about Montana State. Oh, they play in the Big Sky, obviously. They say, obviously, you've heard of Money Williams from Montana. Again, he is known around the country. Everyone knows who Money Williams is, even if you're not a team in the Big Sky. That's the type of year he's about to have, and that's the type of year that he's already had. I mean, that win, Montana's known now, man. They've been put on the map because of that win at UNLV, right? They beat UNLV. They just beat Pauley a couple games ago. They beat Cal Poly 90-82. Guys, Cal Poly can be tough. Saw what they did to Seattle University on the road. Saw what they just did at Utah. Poly's difficult, man. You do not want to see Poly on their schedule. They shoot a bunch of threes, and they keep scoring. Montana beat that team. And albeit, yeah, that game was in Montana. It wasn't in that little gymnasium they have over in San Luis Obispo. But Montana wins that game. And they just went to A&M, and they almost beat A&M. They almost beat Texas A&M, lost by 5 points on the road at an SEC school. I mean, Montana said, okay, give me the most difficult non-con schedule you can offer. Guys, they're going to Louisville later in the year as well. Next month, they're going to go to Louisville, Kentucky, and play the Louisville Cardinals. I mean, they are making sure they are ready for that tournament run, because it's not just a belief that Montana is going to go to the tournament. It is an expectation now that Montana is going to go to the tournament. So why would I take them here to cover against Lamar? They are 6.5-point favorites tonight against the Lamar Cardinals. It's because Montana's already been playing the most difficult teams imaginable. I mean, nothing against Lamar. I think Cal Poly's better than Lamar. Might be a hot take. I know last year Lamar in the regular season at least was better than Cal Poly. I don't think so anymore. I think Poly's one of the most difficult and dangerous teams you can face because you don't really get much out of playing Poly. Poly right now is not known yet that they're really good. Trust me, Poly's going to shock some people this year in conference play. I firmly believe that. So that's one of the most dangerous teams you can play. They're going to put up points. Again, watch the Seattle University Cal Poly game where Poly just puts up 1,000,000 points in the second half after falling behind and going scoreless for 5 minutes. They just keep on scoring and eventually beat Seattle on the road on their homecoming night because they don't have football, obviously. But the games Montana's already played, yeah, they got obliterated at the farm at Stanford. Okay, they learned from that game. That was their first D1 opponent. Then they go to UNLV and win. They beat Poly. They go to A&M and play a competitive game. And Money Williams in these games, 19 points against Stanford, 30 points against UNLV, 31 points against Poly, 22 points against A&M. This is, again, the best player in the Big Sky and one of just the all-around best mid-major players in the country. It goes beyond just the conference now. Money Williams is just that good. There are some supporting pieces too. Brooklyn Hicks currently averages 12 points per game. Tejon Sawyer also averages 11 points per game. You got guys. You have guys now backing him up. And now that Money Williams has been firmly, established as the #1 guy, I mean, you get Brooklyn Hicks, who played at UNLV last season. He had his revenge game over against the Rebels earlier in the week, or last week. He was big time. Tejon Sawyer played on Montana last year, started at Cal Baptist a couple years ago. This is a really good squad, man. It is a really good team. For the Lamar Cardinals, 2-1 this season. They went to Fort Worth and took on Texas Christian, ended up losing that game, just beat UL Monroe. They've only played 3 games. They've played 3 games. Montana's played 6. I'm going to take the team that's played double the amount of games this season and gotten double the amount of reps as their opponents here from the Southland Conference in the Lamar Cardinals. Lamar led by Andrew Holyfield, who does average 17 points. Holyfield's been huge, 6'10" forward from Texas, started at junior college, or D2, excuse me. Started every game for Lamar last year, averaged 10 points per game. He is now officially the guy for the Cardinals. I think Holyfield's good from what I have seen. Obviously, I like Money Williams a lot more. So I'm going to go with Money Williams and the Montana Grizzlies to win this game, and not just win it, obviously, we need them to cover. Give me -6.5 for Montana to cover and win this basketball game at home in Missoula against the Lamar Cardinals. On now to our 4th best bet of the video as we move to a matchup between Northwestern. This is another tournament game, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. I'm fairly certain it is. Anyways, we are going to go with the Northwestern Wildcats here, -6.5. Yeah, it's a tournament game in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, against the South Carolina Gamecocks. I know we're picking against the SEC again, but give me Northwestern here, -6.5. I'm going to take Northwestern -5.5. I have it at right now. Hopefully it stays at that line. -5.5 for the Northwestern Wildcats. And this isn't just me being somewhat of a Big Ten homer at times. I do just think Northwestern is levels ahead of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Right? South Carolina 4-1 this year. That loss against Butler, don't love it. I don't at all. Early morning game, I get it. Butler was a slight favorite. South Carolina loses it. I mean, this team has not impressed me at all yet this season, and it goes back to the game that they played against the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, which, don't get me started on the Southern Miss football team. What the hell was that yesterday? But I mean, I watched South Carolina play Southern Miss and only win that game by 4 points at home in SC, or well, it's Southern California, in South Carolina. I saw the Gamecocks do that. You know, I mean, they are, I believe, a bottom tier SEC school this year. Obviously, last year they were definitely a bottom tier SEC team. I think they might have the worst. No, LSU definitely had a worse record because I'm pretty sure South Carolina beat LSU twice last year, or at least beat them once. But so what happens when last year you had a lottery pick on your team, you had a top pick in the draft in Colin Murray-Boyles, and obviously, you know, CMB now in the NBA going to do big things for the Toronto Raptors, but you had him on your team last season and you won 12 games in the regular season, and you won, what, 2 or 3 games in the SEC? And you had a top pick, and you had a couple of the seniors as well. You had Pringle, you had Jacoby Wright. I mean, you had a couple guys on that team. And obviously with Colin Murray-Boyles, who's in his sophomore season, you lose all of that. You basically are completely starting from scratch. And sure, again, South Carolina has been winning with the exception of the Butler game, but I think the Butler game really shows. And I get it, Butler, again, right? Big East school, they can be dangerous, they can be trouble, I get it. South Carolina, to me at least, the times that I've watched them, there's just not many scorers in the court. And it all starts and ends with Meechie Johnson. Meechie Johnson is the guy for South Carolina. Watching that Butler game, Johnson is taking almost every shot for the squad. Johnson takes 19 total shots in that game, 8 from beyond the arc. He is a senior transfer, obviously, from Ohio State, and Johnson is a very capable and talented player, I'll tell you that. The rest of the squad, though, I really struggle to point out, okay, these are the scorers for South Carolina. And last year, you could just point out, okay, Colin Murray-Boyles, he's going to lead the team in points, he's going to lead the team in rebounds, he's going to lead the team in assists. He's going to pull a Cooper Flagg type stat line every single game. You don't have that anymore. You obviously are completely building up from scratch now. It's a completely, you know, new starting 5. I don't love that. And I get it. You know, Northwestern is missing some players too, right? Their best player last season, Brooks Barntizer, now at or with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the reigning champions. You still bring a couple pieces back. Obviously, Martinelli's still playing the 4 for this team. KJ Wyndham is now starting at the 1, obviously, too, or playing quite a bit. I believe he's starting now. They just lost their last game to Virginia, but you know what? A loss to Virginia, and I think Butler's not bad, but I'll take a loss to Virginia over a loss to Butler. And the ways in which those games ended up, too, yeah, I'm gonna take that spot that Northwestern had. Wyndham is not starting. Excuse me, he's coming off the bench. They're starting Jaden Reed instead. My apologies. The junior coming out of South Florida. It's a good Northwestern team though. It is. I know the Virginia loss sucks, but you got Martinelli who can still score. Jaden Reed has been absolutely massive. Again, I don't know why I thought they were starting Wyndham and Reed. Reed starting at the 1. They're starting at the 2. Oh goodness, Carvino starting at the 2 still, and then at the 3 they've got. Max Green's coming off the bench, so it's going to be Arden Page Arden Page is at the 5, obviously. It's Trey Singleton at the 3. Okay. They're starting Singleton and Martinelli. Singleton's more of a 4 from what I thought he was, but anyways. They're playing a relatively big lineup, and that's okay. They're playing an experienced lineup, too. Northwestern's 1 loss again, Virginia, but Virginia hasn't lost yet this season, and I expect them to be decent this year out of the ACC, probably better than decent. Northwestern has a win on the road against a Big East school. It's DePaul, which I don't know how much you want to put into a road victory against DePaul at the Wintrust Arena, but they did, right? Martinelli has a big game, and when Martinelli's playing well, everything starts heading in the right direction for this team. Because yeah, I mean, we saw a big scoring night at Jaden Reed just a couple days ago, really, against UVA. If Martinelli's only scoring 6, 7, 8, 9 points, I'm not too confident in Northwestern's ability to win a basketball game, but in most games this season that they've had, other than the UVA game, Martinelli has been a major factor in their wins. Northwestern's victories, though, are Mercyhurst, BU, Boston University, Cleveland State, and then DePaul on the road in Chicago. Again, the loss to Virginia, it is what it is. Again, you got a big night out of Jaden Reed. You need Martinelli to be huge. You need the other supporting factors to be big as well. I think they're going to bounce back here against South Carolina, especially look at the schedule Northwestern's got coming up. I mean, there are no easy games coming up. You got South Carolina here, then you play Oklahoma State on Thanksgiving, then you get Wisconsin to open up Big Ten play in Madison, and then you get Ohio State after that too, and then you go back into some slightly easier games, Valpo, Jack State, and then you get Butler. Regardless, though, it's a game that I think Northwestern needs to get. I know, right? I mean, Georgia's got the same record too, or sorry, not Georgia. Well, Georgia does have the same record, obviously not in this spot. Regardless though, I like this spot for Northwestern here. Neutral site game in West Virginia against South Carolina, who does have the same record as well. Georgia actually has not lost yet, but regardless. I'm going to take here the Northwestern Wildcats minus 5.5 points. To me, again, the all-around talent is just better with the Wildcats. When Martinelli, you have Reed. I'm going to go with the Wildcats here to get this one done here in West Virginia, minus 5.5. Our final best bet of the video will be our nightcap over in back in the TD Arena in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got two winners facing off in the Davidson Wildcats taking on the Utah State Aggies. Actually just got to see Utah State play football last night. That was something. Way to go, Fresno. What a choke job. But Utah State taking on the Davidson Wildcats, two teams that are 5-0 this season, and I just don't think Utah State is 8.5 points better than Davidson. Will Utah State end up winning the basketball game? Likely. But I do think Davidson can cover the 8.5 points. Here's why, guys. Davidson played a horrible basketball game in their last one in this, Shriners Classic in Charleston, South Carolina against Boston College, and they still won. Now, is that, oh, look how great Davidson is, they can still win, and they still shot, 20-something% from the three-point line? Or is that just, look how bad Boston College is? I think it's a combination of both. Obviously, we know Boston College is horrible. Boston College literally went, 8 minutes in the second half without scoring at one point in time, without hitting a single field goal, again, from the field. They couldn't hit a three-pointer. We know, again, Boston College is horrible this season. But Davidson found a way, right? They were not having their A-game shooting-wise. This is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, and legitimately, they shot around high 20-ish% from the three-point line against Boston College. They won the game 54-49, but Davidson wins in spots. When they need buckets, they get them, and they never really allow Boston College, when BC had their slight leads, Davidson didn't allow Boston College to really get away from them, and ultimately that was absolutely massive in their victory, again, earlier in this tournament in Charleston. Davidson's an undefeated group this season, won their first game over D2 DeSales. They beat Wazoo at home after that. They go to Charlotte, North Carolina and beat the 49ers, and then a victory in a high-scoring affair, 91-87 against the Bowling Green Falcons. And you know what? Again, Davidson, their last game against Boston College, it is an outlier. And sure, they played we can say it, they played a bad game, but they got away with it because of how bad Boston College is, and Boston College's inability to score the basketball, and inability to shoot as well, and just the, continuous turnovers and the continuous mistakes that BC made in that basketball game. But that should also say at the same time, okay, wait, Davidson won that game and they couldn't shoot. For a team that shoots as well as they do going into that game, and they've been shooting all year long, and they can still win a game by 10? I know, again, BC's not very good, but you have to give some credit to the Davidson defense for forcing those turnovers, forcing bad shots, forcing those contested threes, and winning the game by 10 points. Now, do not get me wrong, Utah State is levels better than Boston College. Utah State is a very good team. Obviously, they have fell victim to the portal at times, but still, they've brought some guys back this season, and they are very talent-loaded. I mean, the big three guys we can talk about are going to be MJ Collins, Mason Falsev, who is back again for his, I believe, junior year. Yeah, Falsev's a junior. And then Gary Clark, right? Those are the three best players on the squad. MJ Collins is a senior from South Carolina, at least, again, from South Carolina. Started at VTech, went to Vandy last year, came off the bench for the Commodores, and now starting and averaging 17 points per game for the Utah State Aggies. Falsev, junior guard for this team, started last year. Every single game was massive, averaged 15 points. Might need to take a small step back because of the production you're going to get out of MJ Collins, but Falsev is still a very lethal scorer. And then Gary Clark, who does all the work down low, 13 points per game scorer so far this season, 10 rebounds per game, started at Tarleton State, then went to Corpus Christi with the Islanders, and now here with Utah State. Coming off the bench right now, but should, I believe, eventually get elevated into a starting role. Davidson's got shooters, that's what they do. Hunter Adam, Nick Koval, Parker Fredrickson, Josh Scovins, Sam Brown, bunch of guys who can shoot. They play small, they play fast, they're going to push the ball down court, and they're going to take good shots. That's what they do. They're going to force you to play transition defense against them. And that style alone should keep them within 8.5 points against Utah State. And I understand Utah State just won their last game via blowout. They took on Tulane. I mean, I'm not telling you Davidson beats Tulane, especially the way they were playing the other day against Boston College. I'm not telling you they beat Tulane by 21 points, but they beat Tulane by double digits. And hell, again, they did beat BC by double digits. We're just, you watch that game, you're like, oh, they didn't shoot well. Well, they still won the game by 10. Utah State, a 5-0 team. They beat Westminster, D2 school out of Utah. They beat VCU. They beat Weber State. They beat UTEP. And they just beat Tulane. Again, they've got players, again, Clark, Falsev. I'm just thinking, again, Davidson I don't think is 8.5 points worse than the squad, and it's really, to me, just the way the Wildcats play. Their ability to shoot, the fact that they do push a pace, the fact that they really never let you, that you can't get off the hook with Davidson. And Boston College found out the hard way, right? BC, whenever they got a lead, Davidson would just take it right back, right? Davidson had their, had their runs where, they'd go up by 8 points, they'd go up by 10 points, then BC would cut back into it, but then Davidson would just keep adding on, and eventually, that game would get tied. Okay, BC would take their lead, and then immediately Davidson would take it right back. They're just a very tough team to get away from, and they're just a very tough team to cover against too, right? Do I think Utah State wins? Likely. But I do think Davidson's going to cover the points. Just don't think the Aggies are that much better than them in this finals on this side of the bracket, obviously, for the Shriners Children's Classic in Charleston, South Carolina. So give me Davidson plus 8.5 to close the night. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on November 23rd. If you haven't not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.